Hello again everyone, this is a little bonus video. It's a comparison between the CMs and a Kyosho that just came in the mail. I seem to be breaking all my collecting rules nowadays. Originally when I started collecting I thought I would get one casting of all the cool cars that I thought were available. But turns out I'm buying like fantasy cars. It turns out I'm buying multiples of certain cars that I like now. And who knows, maybe, I'm buying Matchbox and Hot Wheels, which aren't even 1/64 scale. So if anyone's new to collecting, just be aware that this will happen to you as well. Anyway, so I just recently showed this in a favorite 6 purchases of this year. So again, this is made by CMs, but I recall it's not actually true to scale. So we're going to pull out the Kyosho now and take a review and measure these two things. Okay. So the Kyosho was purchased used off eBay, no package, not even the little card that shows the colorways, so it's just this guy came in the mail and screwed to a base, which is typical of a Kyosho blister pack. And let's see, a little more history I guess on this one. Back in the late 60s and early 70s, a lot of privateers were racing the Fiat 124 Spider, and they were asking Fiat for some help, some support so they could race more successfully. And Fiat actually did start helping them out, and the Fiat 124 won a couple European championships. And so they were convinced to, support rally racing more, because it was the most popular form of racing of its day, I guess, this rally racing in the 60s and 70s. So the 131 was their new economy sedan, and they hired Bertone Style Center to make a racing version with the help of Abarth. Abarth was actually acquired by Fiat, so it became the racing division of the Fiat group. So basically Bertone made the bodywork, which is fiberglass and aluminum and yeah, there's some plastic hoods and fender flares and aluminum doors and stuff like that. And the rear suspension, I believe, was totally different from the regular road-going car. I might be mistaken there, though. I'm just going off recollection. But then the mechanicals for the powertrain were done by Abarth. So Abarth made a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine and had 16 valves. And with the carburetor, it just had 140 horsepower. But they had some fuel-injected versions, and those things made 225 to 245 horsepower later on. So that's not bad from 2 liters back in the 1970s. So let's see here. Let's get a little back view here. So between 1976 and 1978, 400 examples of these cars were built. And that was just a requirement that the FIA had for Group 4 rally racing. So 400 lucky people were able to buy these things, and I'm sure they raced them themselves. Okay. So hopefully you pause that. I think it looks pretty close to the photographs, although there are some issues when you compare it to the CMs. But let me go through the quick review as usual here. So the wheels, yeah, they look pretty similar to these to the photographs there. These little 4-spoke kind of things. They're almost like JDM wheels, or really JDM wheels probably copied these. I think these are Campagnolo wheels, if I recall, although correct me again if I'm wrong. The tires here are nice. You can see the curvature of them. They're not slab-sided. And then you can see some knobbies, but they're not super off-road, so it looks pretty realistic. And then you got these treads here. And so it's press fit together. I don't know what collection this came from, what Fiat collection of Kyoshos, but being press fit, it might be an older one. Basic details as usual. Let's see here. So the printing is all tampos, which is what I really like about Kyosho. My latest Tarmac Works video, we feel that Tarmac is losing its way. A lot of the castings are not so detailed. And then I just don't like the decals that they use. Why is it, a $6 Kyosho or even a $1 Hot Wheels can get away with tampo printing that will last for decades, but Tarmac decides to use decals, which will crack and flake off? I mean, everyone knows that. So it just seems odd that an expensive brand like Tarmac Works would choose decals. So I'm gonna downgrade them at the end of the year when I do another brand comparison. That's for sure. Okay, well anyway, so that was a tangent, sorry. But anyways, the tampo printing on this looks pretty decent. There is some paint rash developing there. It's pretty typical of Kyosho, unfortunately. I would say more than the majority of old Kyoshos do have some minor paint rash. I mean, it's pretty minor, but still, it's noticeable. So I have to mention that. Okay, a little silver here painted on this fuel filler as well. That looks pretty good. The black paint around the windows is painted onto the window molding. There's no silver paint there, but it's nice to see the little black on these little bubble mirrors there. There's a little character line cast into the side of the bodywork. The white paint did a decent job trying to cover up the casting. Maybe a little too much paint there though. Let's go to the back here. So you got the lens taillights. That looks pretty good. Orange, red, clear. That's pretty accurate. Again, the printing looks good. Unfortunately, it's just a blank license plate, so that's unfortunate. And that photo of the rear is not this number 4 car, so the graphics would be different. I couldn't find a rear photo of it. But physically, it should look the same, I would imagine. I don't see any of the black trunk latches, though, on this one. Yeah, a little black here in these side vents. There's a roll cage on the inside. Let's go to the front. So nice 6 pieces of plastic representing the 8 different lights. So that's great. So again, I complain about some premium brands using painted on turn signals. It's cheap. It's really bothersome. Everyone's cheaping out on their models, except for Renault 64. They would have little pieces of plastic in their turn signals, it seems. Alright, anyways, this printing looks good. Little vent here, it's just blanked off though. Little vents there, painted black. Some molded in vents there. And then a nice tampo print even on the windshield, so that's great. Some floating kind of armless wiper blades, which is unfortunate, but they are painted black. I know the interior is going to have some molded details, but without the flashlight, you're not going to see much of them. But here we go. We got 2 seats, you know, one for the driver, one for the navigator. Little stick shift there. Sorry, trying to fit the focus there. It's a little better. Yeah, I'm sure that steering wheel is accurate to the real car. Definitely doesn't look like a modern one. It's a giant blanked off trunk. Maybe I don't know why that is, but it's a race car. And yeah. So no rear seats. So Kyosho went through the trouble of actually making a race interior. I imagine those 9 buttons there on the right side are probably like a bunch of clocks and gauges for the navigator to track their progress. You know, timers and stuff. So they can time their stages. Okay. Yeah, the roll cage is not so bad. It's actually better than CM's, I think. Well, we'll compare soon enough. Unfortunately, you know, the roll cage has to be low because it has to be below the molded windows, but it's still above the seat backs, so I think that's pretty good. Okay, and the tubes aren't super thick. So I do like it. It looks pretty sweet. The exhaust tip is just black plastic, but I think it's just a raw steel muffler on the real car, so I suppose it's not too bad. Okay, so let's get the calipers out now and measure this guy. So I'm looking on the internet here. The length of this thing is 419 centimeters, so 4190 millimeters divided by... Mr. Calipers comes out. Divided by 65. I'll put 0.04 in there. Yeah, Kyosho is 164.4 scale, so that's 164 in my book. You know, just the paint thickness alone might screw that up. But let's check the width though as well, because I think that's where CM's goes really wrong. So the width I gotta punch in here. 172 cm, 1720 divided by... Let's measure the rear fender flares, those would probably be the widest. 27.3. Okay, 163 scale. So a little bit thin on the width of the Kyosho. Let's bust out the CMs. So we'll start with the length again. So again, it was 4190 divided by 64.9. Hopefully, well, sorry, let me show you that so you know I'm telling the truth. 64.82. You know what? Yeah, the length is similar, 64.6, so that's actually similar. So now the width again, 172 divided by, let's go with the rear fenders, 30.27. Yeah, see now this thing's 157 scale in that ballpark. So overall length is quite similar. It's just the width of the CMs is just too wide to be 164. So now you can see what I'm talking about, right? Okay, let's get the tray of comparison out now. Okay. So what's nice about the Kyosho is the fact that it has yellow turn signals or fog lights or whatever these rectangular lights on the bottom are, because that does match the photograph that I'm looking at of the number 4 car. Yeah, the sponsorship matches up. It's interesting. This on the photo of the real car, the Pirelli isn't on this side, but it is just on. This is more accurate, but it is fully possible that at a different race they would have had sponsorship on both sides. You know, that maybe they replaced the lip there after a crash or something like that. But you can see it's got both the Fiat Abarth right there, so that looks pretty good. I just like the fact that the CMs has a bigger headlight here in the middle than the side, which is accurate to the photograph. But Kyosho, all 4 of their headlights are identically sized, so that's not as accurate. So also these fog lamps look more accurate. They look huge on the real car, but these look a little bit small, I think. I think this is more accurate. Technically CMs has 8 pieces of plastic. This is a separate piece than that piece, whereas Kyosho just had 1 piece to do both and then color changed part of it. So a little bit more work here on the CMs. You'll notice the CMs painted this black, this little grill section. Kyosho did not. It's just green there. So CMs there is better. Now this is where I think without being at the race, it's hard to know which red is correct. Everyone's computer monitors are different, cameras, or film developing methods were different. So I don't know. For me, I kind of feel like it would look like that, but I never flew on Alitalia. It's an old Italian airline, I believe. Are they still in existence? I'm not sure. I've never flown on Alitalia. But maybe Alitalia had this kind of red. It's more of a dark red. I'm not sure. Okay, let's look at the Rally Monte Carlo badges here. So the Kyosho on the left. Oh yeah, I see. Rally de Portugal. Yeah, sorry, it's not Monte Carlo. I think the printing's a little bit nicer on the Kyosho. It just doesn't seem as blurry. The CMs is a little blurry, but I do feel like there's some sort of paint blob or something there, or a stain. The CMs had some ribbing. This is just flat black. Okay. Yeah, look at the CMs. It's got paint rash as well. I think that's a problem with all the old diecast. The vents are more, I think, better here than there. The CMs actually has arms on the wiper blades, and the wiper blades are pretty high in the windshield, so this is more accurate than that. They both have the little bulby mirrors. I think this is probably more accurate. They stick out a little bit more. These are super flush. Okay, so yeah, the tampo prints on the windshield are nice from both companies. I kind of feel like this one's better now than that one. You know, this just looks crisper. Alright. There's a little extra work here. You can see the little rally badges there up on the roof. And obviously you got an antenna on the CMs as well. It does seem like CMs might have put a separate, whatever this is. I mean, is it a wing? It's so small. I would I don't know if you consider that a wing or not. It's some sort of thing on top of the roof. But it's possible that the CM's one, I think, is a separate piece because you can see the undercut there. Alright. So let's see here. Both of them have painted black around their window moldings. Oh yeah, so this is a separate piece. You can see where the plastic sprue was torn off. So Kyosho just has it part of the casting, a little less detail there. The fuel filler cap here, more detail. They're both painted, but this one's got black surrounding the fuel filler cap, whereas that's just you know, silver on the... There should be black there, I think, because the gas tank is actually recessed, and this is a hole in the trunk. So that darkness represents the air. Okay, let's look at these rear lights. I think the Kyosho wins on this one because these are supposed to be clear backups. Orange turn signals, red and red. But the CM's, everything is red, so that's not accurate. But what is nice is the CM's has the real license plate number that belongs on the real car. It's also on the front, I didn't mention that before. It's very small, but you see this little plate? If you back up to the earlier part of this review, that actually matches the real car of the number 4, driven by Marku Allen. Okay. Yeah, so this says World Rally Champion. But again, I don't know. I don't know which is more accurate, to be honest with you. This one does have the little black indications of the latches to hold the trunk down. And then the little rectangles for the license plate lights. I feel like the Kyosho is more accurate. They're not this small, I don't think, on the real car, so I think Kyosho's got it beat there. And what's up with these? There's a little silver thing here. I don't see it on the photograph of that other car, but that other car is in the number 4. So I'm not sure what's going on with those, what that means. Alright, so this is a hard one, the side view. I do feel like the side details are crisper here. You know, the paint isn't filling in this character line. This door handle is a little smaller. It's a little bit thicker, and it's not extruded. This is just flush with the body, or actually it might be recessed. But this one actually sticks out, the CMs. So the CMs is more accurate because the door handle sticks out in the real car. So, but I would have to say that probably these fender flares, just based on the measurements alone, are more accurate on the Kyosho. I do feel like maybe this is more accurate. The whole white box around is like off-white thing, because I think when you go racing, that might be a sticker they put on the car. Whereas this is just a plain white of the whole body, and then a 4, so there's no line of the box there. Okay, let's take a look at the wheels here. This might be a little hard, but the CM's definitely has better looking wheels. You know, it has the 4 lug nuts, and then the perimeter nuts is a multi-piece wheel, whereas Kyosho just looks like one like cast wheel. Diameter-wise, maybe the Kyosho is more accurate. I'm not exactly sure, but just detail-wise, I like the CM's more. And then the side of the tires just look nicer on the Kyosho as well. These look too glossy and a little bit slab-sided. But they do have pretty decent treads, you know, both of them. Although I like the treads of the CM's a bit more. And then the CM's has a really lame bottom. You don't even know who made this model. So that's too bad. Interior-wise, you can see the steering wheel of the CM's is really huge, and it's like angled at a strange angle, like almost like a bus. So I don't think that's very good. I like that it has a silver roll cage, although I think the real one has a black roll cage, looking at photographs of it, so that's not really accurate. Whereas the Kyosho, you know, it's got the black roll cage, and if you look at the steering wheel, unfortunately it's so distorted, but it's more vertical, like I think a regular steering wheel would be. So I kind of feel like the Kyosho is probably more accurate, or at least it looks better. More paint rash, that's unfortunate, all that bubbling. Okay, well, I'd say they're both great models, and here's the Kyosho variation, and this is Walter Rohrl that won a World Rally Championship in this car. Marco Allen, I guess, won in that car. And this Fiat 131 Abarth, it won 20 different rally races, and it won 3 different World Rally Championships in 1977, 1978, and 1980. So it was a relatively successful car. It carried on from the Lancias, which are owned by the Fiat Group. So they had a really good run there, the Fiat Group, in rally racing in the 1970s. So one other car that I'm going to show is this 124 scale drift car of the Walter Rohrl. So maybe you guys don't care about RCs, so you didn't see this in my other videos, but this is a model kit. This body is made by a brand called Alitalia, and it's 124 scale. And it took me 10 hours to put on all these decals. I got it right, but again, it took 10 hours. So I can understand why people watch those videos of people putting model kits together. It's you gotta have some patience. I have some other videos on this guy. This is called a Drift Art 2 rear-wheel drive drift car chassis, and it does work really well. I'm quite fascinated with how easy it is to drift, considering I never drifted a rear-wheel drive this small before. I had some 10 scales a long time ago, like 15 years ago, but this is a great chassis. But just an FYI, I have a four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive 128 scale, or maybe it's 127 scale drift chassis coming in, and it only costs like $40. So stay tuned for that if you're interested in maybe picking up a cheap RC drift toy. Okay, well anyways, I like this car so much, I think I'm gonna order those Matchbox ones. They were from the 1980s. I know there's an Alitalia one from them, and then some random white with orange and brown or something like that. I think they're like 150 scale or 155, but stay tuned, I'll get those in, and then this video will grow as I get more of these Fiat 131s. So in summary guys, if you want a more accurate dimensionally model, that would be a Kyosho. But if you want something that has different features, for me, I still like the CMs more, even though it's definitely missing half of the details of each brand seem to be good and bad. There's good and bad of both of them. So, you know, pick up whichever one you can get for less money, or pick up both if you really love this car like I do. Well, anyways, I appreciate you guys chiming in, and we'll see you the next time, next comparison. Thanks.